Hey guys, welcome to a video. I wanted to just go through the IGCSE Computer Science syllabus for programming only, using Visual Basic, and I just wanted to go through and make a game, right? I mean, the only way to learn stuff like programming, anything that you finally get on your hands on, needs you to do stuff, right? And what's better than making a game? Well, we're not gonna be making like GTA 5 or anything. We're just gonna make Tic Tac Toe. But I hope it shows enough of the concepts that you might need to grasp, right? There's usually a submain here, but we're just gonna start from nowhere, see where we can get to. So usually, I mean, we need to first design our game, right? So we just need to start thinking about how it'll look, how it'll operate, what will happen when certain inputs are made and stuff. But it's kind of easy. We're just mimicking tic-tac-toe, where you have X's and O's, and X plays, then you switch over and O plays, and the first person to get three in a row, or like in a column or in a diagonal, wins, right? So that's basically what we're trying to model, right? So we're gonna need to keep track of some variables, maybe also have some constants, right? I've pre-written this, so I'm just gonna mainly be copying and pasting what I wrote before, but I'll just go through it line by line, just to not waste your time. So just to make my life easier, we're gonna define player X as a character, which is just X, player O as a character, which is just O. Now, I know if you have some more knowledge on programming, you might be familiar with these things called enums, which would probably be used in this case, but I'm making a trade-off here. I can write short, complex code or long, simple code, which will be easier to understand. And both of those kinds of codes will try to show you the same concepts. So it would be better if I just went with the simpler code, so you wouldn't have to bend your mind as much, right? I mean, it's not insanely simple. I mean, but I don't want to make it incredibly impossible to understand this. Okay, so these guys are going to be constants because they're not changing during the runtime of the program, right? I mean, I can change them now at development time. I can just make this an O, make this a no, whatever I want it to be. But just for modularity purposes, we're making them constants. So if I want to change player X to be, let's say, an A, I can just change it here instead of going through my program. It's going to be a longer program. But instead of going through my program and manually changing everywhere it is, I can just change it in one place, and that change will be reflected through my entire code. It's clean, it's nice, it's simple, it's better. So yeah, we'll have player X, player O, and empty. So if a cell is empty, this is the character that will represent that. I know, some of you might be screaming, just use enums, but relax. It's gonna gets way worse. So we'll just keep a global variable, keeping if the game's over, right? Initialize that to false. On Visual Basic, you can declare a variable and initialize it to a value. Just dimming it as the type and then just equal to the value that you want to give it to. This is a boolean, represents true or false. So we're going to be using that. If the game is over, it's going to be true. If the game is not over, it's going to be false. And we haven't even started the game, so the game can't be over, so it's starting off at false. and this will be our one-dimensional array holding our board, really, right? And this is a tic-tac-toe board is made of 3x3. It's a 3x3 board. You'll see that as we move on. It's a 3x3 board, so there are 9 spots. And I want to show you that arrays are indexed starting at 0. You need to get into that kind of frame of mind when you pick up programming. It can get a little tricky at first. But now the funny thing is, in Visual Basic, when you declare an array, the number you put in between the brackets isn't the size of the array. It's the maximum index, right? So, just to make this clear, it's indexed from 0. Indexed from 0. And the max index is equal to 9 minus 1, which is 8. Right? So you can count how many values we'll have in the board. We'll have the 0th value, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. And if you count that on your fingers, we have 9 things in this array. But because I want to start from 0 just to show you that sometimes in programming languages it's indexed from 0. In pseudocode, on the other hand, it will be indexed from 1, but if you make it clear that you're indexing from 0, they should allow it, because pseudocode is an actual code. There's no like pseudocode compiler or interpreter. It's up to if the pseudocode makes sense, if it shows the intent of the algorithm that you're trying to write down, it should be correct. So if you just let the person know who's reading it that arrays are indexed from 0, then they'll follow that rule as they read through your code. But usually arrays are indexed from 1 in pseudocode. Don't ask me why. It's going to store a bunch of characters. And we want to keep track of the current player, right? And it's just going to be a character. It's going to be either player X or player 0, right? It's going to be either X or O who's playing. And we're going to keep track of any winners. Right now, the winner, we're just going to initialize it to empty. Just going to initialize it to empty. There is no winner. We haven't started playing. So why would we give it a default value? Let's just make it empty, right? There's no winner currently. So now we have to get into the guts of our actual program, right? So we have this our main goal, which is a tic-tac-toe game, and we can break it up into smaller modules which accomplish one task, and then we can compose these modules together to create our final tic-tac-toe game. And essentially that's just when taking those steps to actually break down a problem into smaller problems, simplifying that, breaking it into procedures. I mean, that's like you're decomposing the problem into simpler parts. You're modularizing the problem. Bunch of names you can give it. Like you can go through like a top-down design. You can make some pseudocode before, see where your head's at. But right now, I'm just going to show you the basic design and what we'll be implementing over these couple videos. So every program in Visual Basic, and if you go into other languages, you might notice that every other program has an entry point, right, where the code starts running, and in Visual Basic, this is submain. So a submodule is just a big collection of code. You can call it from any other submodule or function, and it just jumps to submain and then just starts executing the code line by line, right, in that sequence. So basically I broke down the problem into a couple submodules which we'll be calling. The parentheses means like with console.readline, write line, it's a submodule itself. You don't know how it works. You don't know what's happening. It just jumps somewhere and then starts executing the code to write to a terminal. And this is really helpful, right? We can reuse it over and over again. And it essentially boils down to one line. Even though console.writeLine might be running 1,000 lines of code, we don't know what's happening in the back. But when we use it as a programmer, it's a predefined function or submodule. When we use it, it's so clean. It's just simple console.writeLine pass a message. So right now I just want to write to the console that, okay, we're starting our tic-tac-toe game. You can pick a different design. You can probably make it prettier. I don't have an eye for this design stuff. You're probably better than me in that sense. So when we start, we're gonna initialize our game. It's showing squiggly lines because we haven't defined these functions. We're just giving basic, like, this is what I usually do when I want to make a project. I just think of everything I'll need to do, type it out, and then implement each step of that algorithm that I'm thinking of. So I was thinking, okay, we need to initialize the game, and then we're gonna do this do until loop, right? So this is equivalent to a repeat until loop in pseudocode. But Visual Basic doesn't have repeat until, but it does have do loop until. And then you give it a condition. So we're gonna do this until game over is true, right? So once game over is true, the game's over. We don't need to continue this loop. So we essentially, first we're gonna want to make a move, and then we're gonna print the board, and then we're gonna check if there are any winners, right? And essentially these will all change the variables needed to make game over equal to true. And then we just go on and we print the game over message, because once we've come off this loop, then game over is true, which means that the game's over. We can print the game over message and our game's done. So now it's just our basic design of the game we're going to implement, tic-tac-toe. You can actually just stop watching these videos if you have an idea of where this is going. Just please just write it out. If you have any problems, ask in the comments. Check on Stack Overflow. Google is literally your best friend when programming. And yeah, just so I don't leave you not thinking, I just wanna check if I erase the equals true bit. Does this still work? Does it still work? I'll tell you right now that it does. But I just want you to go over and think, why does it work? Why is game loop until game over equivalent to loop until game over is equal to true, right? This is exactly the same. It's gonna work exactly the same once we implement everything. And I just want you to think about that for a second. So yeah, that's basically what we're gonna go over. Hopefully I'll cover over everything like selection, iteration. I mean, we already do have a loop over here, but everything is broken here. And we're going to see how to make our own submodules in Visual Basic. We're going to see what other fun things we can do to make this game not suck as much as you might see it suck. It's not a very visually aesthetic game because we're just working in the console, but we can make it visually pleasing. But that's something we'll get into along the line. So thanks for your time, and hopefully I got you thinking a little bit. Hopefully you guys can go try implement the game yourself, and see ya.